I spoke a little too soon. I think he just heard me scream or something. Brian, you there?
Yeah, do we have a copy?
Yeah, I do, Brian. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can you guys see me? Because I can't see myself right now.
We can't see you. All we see is what, a Tony Rain car?
Could where we saw you. There he is. There you go.
There we go. Okay, yeah, here we go.
What's
cool,
up,
how's it going?
Nothing much, man. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just a nice little day off work and just chilling here in my Obuto, just hanging out.
See, we don't get days off of here because my mom doesn't allow it. Just, you know, if you know my mother very well, she's technically our boss. So,
yeah.
So, terrible boss. No, she's great. Don't, you know, she's good.
Yeah.
So, what's been up with you, man?
I don't know, just kind of enjoying the off season. I guess it was kind of weird because our season really ended late this year. I mean, it ended maybe 2 weeks or so later than it normally would. So I'm just trying to get into off season mode right now, to tell you the truth, trying to figure out what winding down really means. I know when I talked to you a few weeks ago, I was telling you just how intense our training and laps that we put into every single race. It kind of turned into like a second job. So now you're like, what do I do with myself?
Tell you what, you look absolutely relaxed right now.
Yeah, it's pretty relaxing right now, to tell you the truth. It's just comfy back here and just hanging out. It's nice and quiet.
Right on. Well, Brian, if you would like, can you tell the viewers more about yourself and what you're about, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was one of those guys where when I was kind of like in that young age to where many racers and everything take off these days, I was already past that point. I mean, 29. I have people tell me all the time I look like I'm 18 or whatever, which is whatever. Not much you can really do about that. But so I started racing back in like 2002, 2003 with NASCAR Racing 2002, 2003 from Papyrus. And I even played NASCAR 4 after the fact. And that was revolutionary. You know, at the time, I can remember racing online like on dial-up with like a 400 ping. And that was like perfectly, you know, acceptable back in those days. And when iRacing came out, it killed NASCAR 2003, obviously. And raced in the first ever Pro Series in iRacing 2009, and then raced in, I think, maybe 8 seasons of Peak, which is pretty incredible because you guys know it. Just to be in that series is incredible, but to say you've done it for 8 years is pretty nuts. So definitely been around the block, seen a lot of things. So I've been sim racing since 2002, 2003. So it's been a long road.
Well, right on, man. Zach, you had a question for him?
So, Brian, obviously you're a fan of NASCAR. So what got you into NASCAR?
Oh, I hate to say it. That's a good question. It's going to be a horrible answer. Here it goes. So I was one of those people where I didn't really know what I liked. I had a small group of friends or whatever. We just kind of hung out and did whatever. And honestly, the death of Dale Earnhardt kind of turned me onto NASCAR itself, which is bad, but it got so much news and publicity. I was like, I got to check this out. And my first ever race I really watched was Las Vegas in 2001. And Jeff Gordon won that race, and he won the Noble Million, which was a big deal back in the day. And just kind of got hooked ever since that first race I watched in Las Vegas in 2001. And pretty much have tried not to miss a race ever since. I mean, obviously we've watched the real world of racing kind of, I don't want to say crash and burn, but lose popularity over the last few years and everything, but still always been a fan. I mean, after Jeff retired, I kind of was searching for that driver to kind of pull for. And, you know, I like, you know, Chase Elliott, whatever. He's probably about the guy I pull for the most right now. And I like Martin Truex as well, but the way he's kind of handling the whole Logano thing kind of makes me, you know, whatever.
Okay. Sounds good, man. Well, I do want to ask you, so obviously you're a Peak Antifreeze driver. So what really got you into the Peak Antifreeze series? What made you decide, hey, I want to try this out?
Okay, yeah, for sure. I think to tell you the truth, it's going to be about the same answer Matt Busa gave you guys a couple weeks ago, and that was literally the desire to compete at a high level because, the general service and everything is good and it's fun, but I was always like a league racer back in my NASCAR 2003 days. I even helped run a league called the Ascors Racing League, which was huge. It was probably about the second most popular league in that sim, other than DMP, which was by the Dale Earnhardt Jr. So we did pretty good at that. So I always had that desire to compete at a high level. And I mean, to tell you the truth, peak was always going to be that highest level. And ever since then, that desire's just always been there to, compete like that. I mean, obviously, like I was telling you guys before, it's kind of like a second job and you really have to put the time in. I mean, right now, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of like a mid-level, mid-pack driver. I mean, I got 15th in points last year and tied for 12th this year in points, which when you consider it being the 40, best people in the sim, that's really not too bad. But the amount of time I put into it is crazy, and I can only imagine some of these other guys, the amount of time they put in. But just competing at that high level, there's no substitute for it.
Sounds good. Now, obviously, so we talked to the guys a few weeks ago, and they said that it is, and you even told me when we met in person a few weeks ago that, it takes a lot of time and effort. What about during the off season, man? How much work do you put into it just to be prepared for next season?
Well, to tell you the truth, this is going to sound really crazy, even coming from myself, which have run in it for so many years. But I think the biggest thing you can do during the off season is just race in the general service. And the reason why is you don't want to lose that racecraft. Racecraft means everything. The way you put together finishes, put together a whole race to get a good result. That is huge. And obviously, we're going to have another build come out in a few months and everything. So testing cars in the open series and everything really right now isn't going to do anything for us. But just running in the general service and just running laps definitely is worthwhile, because there's nothing worse than going back into peak next year and then forgetting out a race. And you don't forget, but just being sharp. Make sure you get good restarts. Make sure you can still handle the car when it's in a bit of yaw. And, just those situations you can't ever lose track of. So just racing the general service is what you got to do during the offseason, in my opinion, if you don't have to race in the Pro Series, which, it's a lot better just to be able to relax.
Sounds good. So obviously, I would say you did decently well this season. Have you learned anything from this season that you can put into next season, or do you feel like you still want to find a little more things for next season?
Well, the thing that really threw me, that's a great question, by the way. The thing that really threw me for a curve this season was, our cars weren't too good in the middle of the year and whatnot. In the last part of the year, we were really good, but I seemed to have a lot of problems with driving on the racetrack when it would take down rubber. And for a lot of people that haven't raced in a peak race or even just like NIS fixed or NIS open, those big races with a ton of cars in them, the track just takes down rubber and heats up instantly. And it's crazy because the race that you might run in A fixed or even like A open or whatnot in the general service is not going to be the same race that you would run in NIS fixed or whatnot. Those are different series, but to basically put in perspective, when you get more cars on the racetrack, it heats up really fast, and you have to start moving around lanes really fast. And at times, for whatever reason, that seems to throw me off. Like, I can't move up to the top of the racetrack or the middle of the racetrack and make as much speed as other people. So I guess it's a driver problem that I have to try and figure out. But when we start moving around, I have a hard time making as much speed as other people do. I mean, if the track just stays on the bottom of the racetrack, I'm as quick as anyone. We can be good the whole race. But the second those lanes move around, you have to start moving around. For me, being a veteran driver, it's kind of hard to tell you. I have a problem going to the top side and everything, making time against other people. But that's something I learned that is an issue, and I need to figure it out, and I need to figure it out fast. Not sure why it's a problem now, but it is.
So, obviously, during the season, you spend most of your time being prepared for each race, and obviously, Tuesday nights, when there is a race that you guys spend so much more time on that, and practices and just hours and hours of just preparing for each and every race. And even during the off season, how much free time do you have during the season? And then compare the off season? Like, do you get to have any free time to just go and do whatever?
You know, it's really interesting. So during the season itself, I mean, I think I heard Ottinger say this a couple weeks ago. I mean, we're on the same group, so we practice together a lot. I mean, most nights, I mean, we'll get on and practice for like 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours sometimes, easily 4 or 5 nights a week. So you do, I don't know, 3 times 5, that's 18 hours. It's almost a second part-time job. I mean, we spend so much time during a race week, during the regular season, that you really don't have that much time to go run on like the general service and whatnot. So now that we're in that off season, you're kind of like, what do I do? So now there's times to go run in the general service and everything. So I basically notice when we stop racing, I've got about 20 hours or so free time a week that I normally wouldn't have. So it's kind of weird, to tell you the truth, the off season. Very weird.
But it's got to be kind of nice to try to have some time to just settle down and just relax a little bit and just have some time to do whatever, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm definitely not complaining. I mean, you love racing and you love to put time into it when it means you can run good. So, I mean, that makes it worth it. But yeah, having some time off is it's pretty nice, to tell you the truth.
Sounds good. Well, championship weekend in NASCAR, Truck Series, Xfinity, of course, definitely the Cup Series. Who is your picks, man, for the Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series?
Good question. Good question. Let's start with trucks. I mean, I think you would have to say Sauter is the favorite based on experience, but I don't know how much you've been keeping up with the news on that. But Sauter and that GMS team was really picking a fight with the 16 team, Brett Moffitt and them, because they run, I guess, a motor from Joe Gibbs, or yeah, from JGR. And they have a hard time dealing with that. So all that bickering over there has definitely made them suspicious to me. So I think Brett Moffitt is the favorite, but history tells you it should be Sauter. But you know what? I want to go with Moffitt. You know, Gregson, too inconsistent for me. I don't think he's going to do it. He should have the best truck out of the whole field, and I don't think he's going to get it done. I think it goes to Brett Moffitt for trucks. I know I was leaving out Justin Haley there, but yeah. Brett Moffitt for trucks. Xfinity, C-Bell, Christopher Bell for sure. I think that's a good pick. In the Cup Series, this is very interesting. You want to say Harvick, but then you say Rodney Childers not being there kind of handicaps them. Then you look at Kyle Busch, and they should be, you know, strong as ever. Then you look at the 78, where they want to win it on heart and desire, but they haven't had that raw 78 car speed the last couple months. So I don't know about them. And then Logano. The thing about Logano is I don't think he has the raw speed to beat Harvick, but he might just have the pit crew to do it. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but that pit crew has been lightning. They definitely helped him win the race at Martinsville, but let's go with Harvick. So we're going to go with Harvick, C-Bell, and Brett Moffitt.
Sounds good. Well, so pretty good picks. Well, for my picks, I did for the Truck Series, I want to see Brett Moffitt do it. It's going to be tough maybe to beat Sauter just based off experience, like you said, but I would like to see Brett Moffitt take it. Xfinity, you know, it's quite shocking that Allgaier is not in the Final Four, because I think he could have been strong.
That's a huge story.
Yeah, that's a huge story. I mean, having a dominant year and then didn't make the Final Four. So I'm going to go with Christopher Bell as well. But I'm kind of in between for the Cup Series between Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. I mean, I would like to see Martin Truex Jr. go out strong, have that furniture row racing.
Speed.
Yeah, just need to find some speed. I would like to see Furniture Row Racing before they shut the doors go out on top like that. I think that'd be a special story, but I feel it's going to be between Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. I'm kind of in between those two, so either one of those is my pick.
Yeah, those are good picks. Those are very good picks. That was very shocking, though, like you said, that Allgaier didn't make the Final Four, and, you know, like Elliott Sadler, maybe not so shocking they didn't make it, but for JRM, that's got to kind of look weird over there that one of their drivers that's leaving, Tyler Reddick, was the only one to make it out of that camp into the Final Four, so that was interesting. And then trucks, I really like that 16 team. I think they're going to win it on heart and desire, and that motor sounds good too, but I think Moffitt's going to do it.
Well, what was crazy is that earlier this year, Brett Moffitt, of course, there were times where he was struggling to try to get sponsorship and stuff. And there was one point where even that race team even contacted us and asked for a sponsorship. Yeah, it was crazy. Only for 1 to 2 races, but we told them that right now we're just dedicated to Ryan Seat Racing, or else we would have loved to help them out and stuff. It happened to be for the Chicagoland and Eldora races, and they won at Chicagoland. They won at Chicagoland, and they did really well at Eldora. So, for that team that's struggling financially to still be a top team, and they're in the championship 4, have a chance to go win a championship, that's a good story for them as well.
Oh, it is. Can you imagine if they won that championship? I mean, what it would do for that team? I know the owner, Shiggy Hattori, said he just wants to win a championship in NASCAR, and that's it. I don't think he would disappear Furniture Row style, but just think about that money for winning a championship and everything. I mean, that would be huge for them and future sponsors and everything. I think they'd stick around. That'd be a good story. And, with Sauter and GMS, they got all the money in the world to make it happen and have the best truck there, but I think the 16 gets it. I know I've said that, but boy, he's my favorite. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. So anyways, guys in chat, for the viewers that are watching right now, if you guys have any questions for Brian Schoenburg, feel free to ask any questions. We'll read out some of the questions for Brian that he can answer. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. So Brian, do you got anybody to thank for your journey in the NASCAR Peak and Free Series?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, quick story for you. So I made it back into the Peak Series after having a absence in 2016. I had to run the Pro Series in 2016 with a team called Team APC, and we did great in the Pro Series. Only 10 cars made it into Peak that year, and we finished 5th in points, had a great year, and got into Peak in 2017. And was going to run the whole Peak Series for that team in 2017, and it crashed and burned in the middle of that year. And I kid you not, we were sitting there, I want to say it was around June of 2017. Yeah, May, June. I was 35th in points. Only the top 30 made it back then to run back in the series the next year. So I'm 35th in points. I'm out of a ride and everything else. And I hadn't talked to Michael Conti or Brandon Hastings in a good, a couple years or anything. And, I didn't think I'd have any chance at joining with their team or anything like that. And one of my former teammates, Jimmy Mullis, gave me the courage to go talk to them and send them a message. And Conti and Hastings welcomed me with open arms back into their team. And when I joined their team in 2017, in the middle of the year, mind you, went from 35th all the way up to 15th in points by the time we reached Homestead that year. And then we ran the full season this year with them. And like I said, tied for 12th in points, which is pretty solid. So really, I got to thank Michael Conti and Brandon Hastings for bringing me back with open arms. And we've had a pretty solid couple of years with them. The year Conti had, and of course our teammates Nick Ottinger and Matt Busa, who gave me some age grief on the show a couple of weeks ago, but we'll still give him a shout out. He's still a decent guy. So yeah, definitely thank those 4 guys for sure. And my crew chief Pat Melee did a great job this whole year, crew chiefing and spotting for me. Never missed a race, never missed a beat. So just all those guys on our team, and Richmond Raceway and him and Hustle for sponsoring us this year. But really just Michael Conti, Brandon Hastings, Nick Ottinger, and Matt Busa for sure, and Patrick Melee, my crew chief. Great group of guys. Good group. Thing that sets us apart from other teams is a lot of these teams have a lot of turnover, and people quit, move to other teams in the quest to find more speed and everything. And through the good and bad times, we've just all stuck together, and it works.
Sounds good. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions for Brian Schoenburg, feel free to ask any questions, and we will hand over the questions to Brian.
That's the way, you guys. Ask anything at all. It doesn't even have to be racing.
Right. Well, someone just asked, and obviously this kind of an answer you had earlier, but how long have you liked NASCAR? Maybe this guy just joined into the show.
I got you. So basically, I started following in 2001. After Dale Earnhardt Sr. Died at Daytona, I gave the sport so much coverage. First race I watched after that was Las Vegas in 2001. got hooked ever since. So that's a pretty long time ago. Seen a lot of changes. So 2001 on.
Sounds good. Brian, how would Martin Truex Jr. do with JGR in that 19 car in 2019?
You see, this is really interesting. He's obviously got Cole Pern over there. Not sure what they're going to do about the car chief and the engineers and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure they all have, good people over there and whatnot. I mean, I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll win 2 or 3 races. He'll be in the playoffs for sure. Not sure if I see him making the Final Four or not with them. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But it's kind of weird because he goes from being like the lead dog and basically the only dog at Furniture Row to, I don't want to say he's going to be in like Kyle Busch's shadow per se, but I think he's definitely probably number 2 driver there for sure under Kyle Busch. And I definitely put him above, Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. I mean, not Kyle Busch. I put him above Denny Hamlin and Eric Jones. Denny Hamlin's been such a nobody this year, you kind of even forget about him, except for what he did at Phoenix,
I mean, I think a lot of fans hasn't forgotten about that one for sure.
No, not that wreck for sure. But other than that, he hasn't really done anything too noteworthy lately,
Right. So do you watch any other sports, or are you just all racing?
Really just all racing, to tell you the truth. I mean, nothing really ever caught my eye the same way racing goes. But, I love all sorts of racing. I watch NASCAR, IndyCar whenever I can. Just any sort of racing is what I love. It's just what I've always done and always liked, and don't really see that changing ever,
All right. Well, if you guys have any more questions for Brian, maybe we'll give him a couple more questions for him to answer before he heads out here, because he has to head out a little early. Okay. So have you ever? Yeah. Brian, have you ever tried like the road series? Like, have you ever done like other racing?
Yeah, I have. I actually in 2012, I tried to make a serious run at running Road to Pro to get inside. I guess the highest road racing series, which would be in the F1 cars and iRacing. I tried that at one point. Me on road, it doesn't work too good. It takes me just way too long to learn the tracks and get up to speed and everything else. So, I mean, at one point I nearly had a 5,000 road iRating, Class A and whatnot, but no, it just didn't work out. So I tried one time, but just not enough speed. I mean, you have to put in a ton of time. I mean, everybody that runs in that is a good road racer. And I mean, we have a ton of people in Peak right now that could definitely make that happen. Matt Booth is a great road racer. So is Zelensky. Bobby Zelensky, he's phenomenal on road. One of my teammates, Michael Conti, is as well. Clampett's good too. So a lot of those people could actually really do it if they wanted to put the time into it. But no, doesn't work for me. I have enough time on the ovals.
Sounds good, man. Well, what someone did ask, what is your favorite, your best moment in 2018 in the NASCAR Peak and Free Series?
Best moment. Well, we got second at Daytona and nearly won that race, so you would think I would pick that moment. But not really. Our best moment, I want to say, was in Texas. It was in late August, early September, somewhere around there. Our team had really struggled during the summer months. I mean, we were all getting really frustrated. We were putting in so much time and making no speed at all. Our cars, literally in any race, would be good for about 10 laps. Then we'd lose the rear end and lose rear grip and just start falling back steadily over time. And it was so frustrating. But we went to Texas, and it was a very, very hot, slick racetrack. And for whatever reason in that race, we all just ran really good. I mean, I ran top 5 the whole race and finished top 5. And at that race, I kind of felt like our team had turned a corner. And after that Texas race, we were basically top 5, top 10 best cars on the racetrack the whole entire rest of the year, which is good. 6, 7, 8 races. So Texas this year running top 5 the whole time was the turning point of our season. So we'll go with Texas.
Sounds good, man. Well, Brian Schoenburg, we appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight, and of course, Brian, I'm this close that we're this close for getting the new place and stuff. So you got once we get over there, you gotta come over anytime, man.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to invite me over for the housewarming party and everything once you guys get that going. Very close by, so listen, you know how to get a hold of me. I'll be waiting. Just contact me.
Yeah, we're only about 10 to 15 minutes away from each other.
I know.
So, we met each other one time out for dinner one Friday night, and I gotta say it was a good time speaking to you and meeting you for the first time. And I feel like it's gonna be a good long friendship coming up for sure. But just a good dude, buddy. Well, like I said, Brian, thanks for joining, and let me know what days you're off, because like I said, you're working now, obviously, but whenever you get some time, man, like I said, hit me up. We'll go do stuff. But other than that, have a good rest of your evening, and of course, happy Thanksgiving on next Thursday.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks as well for having me over here, and happy Thanksgiving to you guys and everybody else out there watching. And yeah, we'll be in touch soon. So thanks for having me on the show.
Sounds good, Brian. Take care.
See you guys.
That was Brian Schoenburg, the driver of the number 55 car in the NASCAR Peak Anfrey's iRacing Series. He did finish 12th in points this past season. I met Brian Schoenburg for the first time, a little over a month ago. Met him for the first time, went out to dinner with him, and we actually talked for a good 2.5 hours over there and stuff. Just a really nice guy, and I feel like it's a good friendship coming up between him and us, and only about 10 to 15 minutes away from us. So it's pretty cool to have somebody that close, that lives that closely, that also wants to that also is in the NASCAR Peak Anfrey Series.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. So I guess time to go get the keys to the new house. How's that sound? All right, guys, we're going to end the talk show here. Hope everyone enjoyed the talk show. If you got so tomorrow, Zach's live streaming NASCAR Heat 3 on the Lombard Bros Gaming Twitch channel from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, so stay tuned for that. Joseph Lombard, aka N2SC4, with Zach and Lombard, aka Magnum 5. We will see you guys on their talk show in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.